Hi, I'm Zeppelin Evans and I go to Del Mar. I love history and politics so much that I decided not to do my speech on an enemy of the people because I could talk about politics for hours on end. So I decided to write my book about Barbara Ehrenreich's Nickel and Dimed. Eugene V. Debs once said, "I am opposing a social order in which it is possible for one man who does absolutely nothing that is useful to amass a fortune of millions of dollars, while millions of men and women who work all the days of their lives secure barely enough for a wretched existence." I believe that this quote fits perfectly with the theme of Barbara Ehrenreich's novel Nickel and Dimed. When comparing the years 2001 and 2017, the grueling and abysmal state of low-wage workers has not changed substantially in the terms of wages, employment, welfare, and cost of living. In terms of wages, the median wage in 2001 was $21,000, while in 2016 it was only around $30,000. That is an increase of about $9,000 in 15 years, which is not enough to cover the inflation that has also happened in those 15 years. In terms of minimum wage, in 2001 it was $5.15 an hour, but in 2017 it was $7.25 an hour, which is only an increase of about $2 in 16 years, which again is not enough to cover for inflation. Nancy Vasquez is a skycap at Newark Liberty International Airport. She earns well below the minimum wage at $2.13 an hour. In terms of job, the unemployment rate in 2001 was 4.7%. In 2017, it was 4.4%. That is an increase of 0.3% in 16 years, meaning just about the same amount of people are unemployed in 2017 as there were in 2001. Because of the low-wage job boom, more overqualified people are taking low-wage jobs. These jobs include restaurant workers, retail workers, cleaners, and caretakers. These jobs are backbreaking and time-consuming. For example, Ehrenreich complains of pain while she works as a maid in a hotel when she is in Key West, Florida. In terms of benefits, most low-wage workers don't get sick days or vacations. As for health care, as another benefit, Lucy, who works at Jerry's, has leg pain but has no insurance to get it fixed, so she just has to take nowadays only 24% of part-time workers, which most of the time are low-wage workers, have access to health care. That is, access to health care doesn't mean they actually have health care. Adding to the low wage and high unemployment rate, welfare has decreased and cost of living has increased. In 1996 and 1997, the Personal Responsibility and Work Opportunity Act and Temporary Assistance for Needy Families replaced Aid for Families with Dependent Children, which lowered welfare. As welfare has decreased, cost of living has increased. Rent in 2001 would have cost about $841, whereas in 2017 it would have cost $1,492. In Ehrenreich's book, she talks about a woman, Gail, who has to live with a man that she hates and who is abusing her, but she has no choice because she can't pay for a house on her own. Nowadays, Nancy Vasquez, the skycap from Newark, has to live with her sister in the bad part of town because they both do not have enough money to have their own apartments in the nice part of town. As for food, the average groceries cost about $5,000 a year in 2001, whereas now it costs about $7,000 a year. In Ehrenreich's book, she talks about Holly, who faints on the job, as I mentioned earlier, but that is because she is malnourished and she can't eat because she doesn't have enough money for it. Nowadays, again with the Vasquez example, she said that she always has to give up food because she has to pay for the bus or for clothes or whatever for her job. As for gas, which is needed to be able to get to your job and to make money, in 2001 gas cost about $1.50 per gallon, whereas in 2016 it cost about $2.50. So if you can't pay for gas, you can't get a job, and if you can't get a job, you can't pay for gas. Ehrenreich talked in her book about having to rent a car and not having enough money to rent a car, let alone pay for repairs or gas. Vasquez says that she has to take the bus in the bad part of town every morning with the possibility of getting robbed because she can't pay for a car. In conclusion, when comparing the year 2001 and 2017, not much is different when you compare the conditions of low-wage workers. Wages and employment have risen slightly, welfare has decreased significantly, and the cost of living has increased significantly as well. Barbara Ehrenreich wrote her book in 2001, but I believe this quote from Nancy Vasquez recently describes exactly what Ehrenreich was supposed to get across almost a decade later. You're servicing these people. They're getting on flights you can't get on. You know, a nurse's aide. You're giving out healthcare that you don't have. Fast food, you're dealing with food that you go home and you can't even feed your kids. It doesn't matter what the job title is, minimum wage, you can't make a living for yourself.